Shabbat Shalom, friends. Shabbat Shalom, friends. It's good to be with you. I hope that you're well at the end of a long week, a busy week. Maybe there was stress, maybe there was running around, maybe there were to-do lists, maybe there was homework. The week is over. You made it all the way to Friday. Am I echoing? Can you hear me? Yes. Yes? We made it once more all the way to Friday night, and thank God. We're going to come together now to welcome Shabbat with a little bit of music, a little bit of community. We're excited to be with Scarlett and her wonderful family. Scarlett will be called to the Torah in the morning as a bat mitzvah, a great simcha for her and for all who know and love her. And we're so glad to be able to join in this Shabbat with all of you, as it is the third Friday of the month. We have Lucas here to give us a hand with his trusty guitar. And it's good to have you, Lucas. We're going to begin, as we always begin, with a little bit of music to get ourselves settled into Shabbat, to put the week behind us. Hevenu Shalom Alechem. Please join us. Alechem Hevenu Shalom. Hevenu Shalom Lechem. Alechem Hevenu Shalom. Hinei matov u'manayim shevetachim gam yachad. Hinei matov u'manayim shevetachim gam yachad. Hevenu Shalom Alechem. Alechem Hevenu Shalom. Hevenu Shalom. Alechem Hevenu. Alechem. Alechem Hevenu Shalom. As we turn in our prayer book to pages 120 and 121, we find the blessing over our Shabbat lights. We bring in the light and the warmth of Shabbat each week in lighting our Shabbat candles. And to lead us on this special night, it's my pleasure to welcome forward Lisa Altman and Scarlett Hopkins.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us.
As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel
who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Okay, light. Push. Good.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu v'halak ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Amen.
Amen.
Well done. You did get it. You can go sit. That was good. I'm going to ask everyone to please rise and turn to page 123 as we have Scarlett lead us in our Shabbat Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam,
Barek Beri Hagafen.
Amen. L'chaim. You may be seated. Good job. You did it. Okay. As we do each week, we welcome the Sabbath bride in singing Lecha Dodi, page 138. Tonight we join in verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. Shabbat nekabela Amor v'zachor b'dibor echad Hishmiyanu el hamyuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad Shemo tiferet v'letila Chad Dodi B'nei Shabbat nekabela Lecha Dodi Shabbat lefu v'neilcha ki rosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila Hadodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela B'nei Shabbat nekabela Nikrat Tori Mechumi Uri Uri Shir Taberi Kivod Adonai Ayif Nigla Chad Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat nekabela B'nei Shabbat nekabel. As is our custom, we rise and face the entrance to symbolically welcome the start of our Sabbath. Likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekabela Lecha Dodi Likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Now we take a moment to wish Shabbat Shalom to those around us. Feel free to introduce yourself to people you don't yet know. As we do remain standing, our service continues with Baruch Hu, our call to worship, page 264. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Baruch Hu et Adonai, Amivorach, Amivorach. Baruch Adonai, Amivorach. Le'olam, le'olam, la'ed. Praise Adonai, to whom our praise is due. Praise Adonai, to whom our praise is due. Praise Adonai, to whom our praise is due. Now and Turning to page 266, where we can read responsively. In each age we receive and transmit Torah. At each moment we are addressed by the world. In each age we are challenged by our ancient teaching. At each moment we stand face to face with truth. In each age we add our wisdom to that which has gone before. At each moment the knowing heart is filled with wonder. In each age the children of Torah become its builders and seek to set the world firm on a foundation of truth. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. We may be seated. Thank you, Shayna. We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all, yet that oneness eludes our grasp as imperfection and evil abound. Before our eyes there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness. There is evil enough to break the heart, and there is good enough to exalt the soul. When will redemption come? When we grant everyone what we claim for ourselves. Long ago we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High. We learned God's presence redeems time and event, so we celebrate this power that makes for freedom. We sing together our Song of Freedom, Mi Chamocha, page 270. Haba Elim Adonai Mi Kamo. Elianu ve'amru, ze Elianu ve'amru, Adonai imo le'olam, Adonai imo le'olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim, Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Give us a place to rest, O God. Shelter us in the long, soft evening shadows of your truth. You are true protection and safety. In your presence we find love and acceptance. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, Haporei Sukat Shalom Aleinu, V'al Kol Amo Yisrael, V'al Yerushalayim. Shabbat, Lidorotam Beritolam Shamru. Israel Otim, Oti Leolam Shamru. Soteta Shabbat, Lidorotam Beritolam. Imasa Adonai. Shabbat vayinafa Shamru b'nei Yisrael Shamru b'nei Yisrael Et HaShabbat V'asot et HaShabbat Lidorotam do continue now with our tefillah, which you can find beginning on page 273. Please rise. Ufia giteilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Gula Livnei V'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Nechaya Kol Atzarav Le'Hoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'al Kivurot, Umidom Elam, Melech Memit Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua. Baruch atah Adonai, atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh v'kadoshim b'chol yom yalu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai. We may be seated. As we do each Friday night, we offer now a prayer for peace, that there might be a greater level of peace in our broken world, and with that a greater sense of compassion and kindness, greater empathy, that we might overcome our differences in the name of our shared humanity and shared fate, and that our world might soon know an end to prejudice and hate and enmity, all of the plagues of our time. As we sing together now in the name of Shalom, in the name of peace, page 282.
Thank you.
Misha Berach has us acknowledge those in our own lives, those in our community, and those around our world who are in need of healing as we arrive now at the start of this Shabbat. And perhaps as you enter this sanctuary on this night, you carry in your heart the name or names of those close to you who are struggling in some way, maybe physically, emotionally, or otherwise. With Misha Berach, we pray for them, and we pray together in the name of their return to strength and wellness, and God willing soon. As a congregational community on this night, our prayers are with Ileana Cohn, Rick Ulrich, Lynn Romsberg, Jerry Dreskin, Ann Marsden, Stephen Trombecki, Sarah Oken, Gary Garnick, Michael Infanti, Shirley Friedlander, Robert Weiner, Jen Jones, Jocelyn Jackson, Eddie Rosen, Mary Mednitsky, Nick Bowd, Tikva Moshava, Murray Kemmerman, Rick Voronel, Todd Pollard, Al Glogauer, Dr. Jerry Herman, Devora Tehila Batlea, Carrie Basin, Lisa Ager-Brown, Joan Sattinger, Star Berkowitz, Harriet Rosenberg, and Hudson Hodge. If there's a name you'd like to add to this list, someone for whom you offer a Misha Berach, a prayer for healing, please feel free to rise and do so now as my glance meets your own. Join together in our prayer for healing, Misha Berach, page 371. We'll pause for a moment or two now for the sake of our own silent and personal prayers. Shabbat Shalom again, everybody. How are we? Are we okay? We are good. So, when I was in my 4th year of rabbinic school, like everyone in my class, I had to give what was called a senior sermon. Your senior sermon consisted of a sermon that you would present to the entire student body, as well as the entire faculty, on that week's Torah portion. Imagine giving a sermon to an entire sanctuary full of present and future rabbis and cantors. After the sermon, you would lead a discussion about the sermon. Students and teachers could ask you questions, and teachers especially would give you feedback depending on how it went. In some cases, if you said something particularly egregious or inaccurate or problematic, they would offer you their unbridled criticism right there in front of everybody. It was, without a doubt, completely terrifying. Some of the professors in attendance were outright icons, authors of countless books, rabbis known around the world, names that loomed large over all of us. These were the rabbis who trained the rabbis. So when the calendar came out, I learned that I had been assigned this Torah portion, our portion this week, Vayishlach, from the book of Genesis. I breathed a tiny sigh of relief because I love this portion. Here we have Jacob preparing to finally reunite with his long-estranged brother Esau. We watch as Jacob dreams a dream the night before the encounter. In the dream, he famously wrestles an angel, the angel representing perhaps Jacob's past or Jacob's conscience, or maybe the angel is a stand-in for Esau himself. And we're all wrestling with something too. Stress, worry, our past, our future, money, career, relationships, a decision we made or should have made. It's yet another reason Jacob feels so familiar. As dawn approaches, Jacob demands that the angel change his name. And the angel does that, changing Jacob's name to Yisrael, Israel, which means to wrestle with God. Jacob will walk with a limp now, we're told, and with a new name. Sure enough, in the morning, the brothers have their reunion, and despite all of Jacob's earlier anxiety and fear, they reconcile with an embrace that will echo through time. We're reassured as we watch these two brothers find their way back to each other, overcoming difference, history, bitterness, to get to a place of love and togetherness at last. So that's the portion I was assigned. And I worked for months on this sermon. I was young and had never given a sermon that felt so very significant. And I was pretty anxious about all of it, like Jacob. So I decided I would share the story of my grandmother, who was a teenager in Germany when Hitler rose to power. I spoke about how she left her parents in Nuremberg to attend a school in the north of Germany, where she learned about agriculture and farming, with the idea being that this would lead to a visa, allowing her to leave for the United States, which was her dream. But when the time came for the visas to be distributed to the teenage girls at the school, there weren't enough visas for everybody, and she and her closest friend were skipped over. So they gradually made their way to London, where she served as a nurse throughout the war, their hospital bombed on more than one occasion. Eventually, my grandmother came to New York, where she met my grandfather, who had also escaped Germany, and they married in June of 1947 and started their new life together. I spoke about the proverbial wrestling matches she endured, leaving her family, living with dire uncertainty, the backdrop of violence and prejudice all around her, how she, like Jacob, emerged from her wrestling feeling galvanized, motivated, this new sense of self. She didn't have a new name, but she had a new lease on life. She didn't have a new identity per se, but she now had the chance at happiness and fulfillment. When she came to New York, she worked as a nurse on the Upper East Side for years on their labor and delivery floor of Lenox Hill Hospital, and in fact delivered a number of what would become famous babies, like the child of Bob Dylan, for instance. While once she had been surrounded by the prospect of death, she now spent her days ushering in new life. I spoke in the sermon about the idea that our struggles have the power to make us a little taller, a little stronger, a little more resilient, how that's what happened with my grandparents, and likely yours too. Well, my teachers, they loved the sermon. Thank God. It was a great relief to me. The lessons worked for them, and the lessons work for us too. Who among us hasn't endured hardship or illness or loss or tragedy of some kind? We're not living in Nazi Europe, thank God, but we've known our share of disappointment and sadness too. And the fact that we made it this far was never inevitable. We are here. You are here. You've overcome so much. You've wrestled so much too. One commentator notes that the scar Jacob will carry indicates to any would-be detractor that Jacob couldn't even be defeated by the angels of God. He was so strong. The scar was like a warning to anyone who would even think to mess with him. Your scars, whether visible or not, whether physical or not, are a reminder to the world, but maybe a reminder to you yourself that you've also been through a lot, and you've managed to keep going. You are indeed strong, with a light that burns bright inside of you. Call it God, call it faith, call it heart, call it hope or heritage, but it is burning bright now and always. Shabbat Shalom.
I've got the power.
Our service continues now with Aleinu, found beginning on page 586. Please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויה רצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כעם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
Our thoughts do turn now to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and every nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, life and death. We recall at this time those taken from our congregational community in most recent days, including Hal Steinberg, brother of Roz Rosenbluth, Barbara Lustig, mother of Emily and Howard Orell, Ivan and Matthew, grandmother of Catherine, Scott, and Olivia, great-grandmother of Caroline, and Meyer Wiener, father of Sam Wiener and Liz Levinson, grandfather of Ben and Dylan. As well, we recall at this time those whose yahrzeit we mark this Shabbat. Sonny Michael Davidson, Oliver Darby, Erwin Eggendorf, George Frank, Morton Holtzman, Bernard Javatowski, Shana Kramer, Eugene Novak, Leon Pepper, Harry Rosenbluth, Ann Seidel, Ann Seltzer, Marilyn Trombecki, Sidney Vinitsky, and Ann Wright. I would ask to rise at this time those with us on this night in the midst of observing Shiva, the first 7-day period of mourning, followed by those with us on this night in the midst of observing Shloshim, the first 30-day period of mourning, followed by those with us who are within the first year of mourning the loss of a loved one, followed by those with us on this night who are observing the yahrzeit of a loved one. And lastly, if there is someone for whom you say Kaddish, a name that has not yet been recited, and you would care to share that name with us, please feel free to do so now as my glance meets your own. In all their names, in all their memories, and in the memory of the many for whom there is no one to say Kaddish, we rise together for the hallowed words of Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish, page 598. Yitzgadal v'yitzgadash shemei rabbah, v'yalmad divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chaychon v'yamechon uv'chayei techol beit Yisrael, v'agala v'izman kariv v'imru, Yehei shemei rabbah mivarach leolam ulalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, Yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran bi'alma v'imru. Yehei shlomo rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. Together we say, Amen. You may be seated. It's my pleasure to welcome forward Diane Singer, our temple president, to share tonight's announcements.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Rabbi David, Cantor Sandy, Lucas, Shana, for leading tonight's service. Special thank you, Rabbi David, for sharing your personal story. I appreciated that. Thank you to Joanne Summerson and Kyle for greeting tonight, and Janice and Chris Bate for setting up Oneg. A special mazel tov to Scarlett and her family for her upcoming bat mitzvah, and a special thank you for all of you for joining us this evening. Please join us tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock for Torah Talk and Bagels, followed by our 10 o'clock morning service, Shabbat service, when Scarlett will be called to the Torah in honor of her bat mitzvah. Once again, Sunday morning, Sisterhood will be hosting its Hanukkah extravaganza from 8:30 to 1 o'clock. To create a safe environment, the shopping will be set up and out of this parking lot. I'm hoping it's a tad warmer this weekend than it was last weekend. Friendly reminder, Sisterhood is offering 20% off on your entire purchase, so let the gift shop be your one-stop shopping for Hanukkah. Tuesday evening is our annual Thanksgiving Interfaith Service. It will be a virtual service starting at 7 p.m., sponsored by the Unity Church. This year's theme is the Gifts of Gratitude. You can find the link for this year's service on our weekly happenings. Save the date, December 10th through the 12th, is our annual Lois Levine weekend. Also, Social Action and Justice Committee is collecting bars of soap for the homeless community served by St. Paul's Church. Our goal this season is 200 bars of soap by December 10th. So there's a bin by the office, you can drop them off. Tonight's Oneg will be in the lobby. Hopefully you'll stay for a few minutes after services and join us. And on behalf of the Adat Emmanuel Board of Trustees, I'd like to wish all of our families a happy and healthy Thanksgiving. And keeping with the theme of Thanksgiving, tonight's thought for Shabbat is, forget yesterday, it has already forgotten you. Don't sweat tomorrow, you haven't even met. Instead, open your eyes and your heart to a truly precious gift today. Be grateful and thankful for the gift of life that today brings to you and your family. Happy Thanksgiving and Shabbat Shalom.
I want to give a shout out to Kyle and Adam Summerson, two great ushers tonight who did an awesome job back there. Well done. We have a closing song, which is meant to be a little bit of a prelude to Hanukkah, which rumor has it is coming up soon. Did you know that, Shana? Did you hear about that? Did you guys hear about that? Hanukkah, it's coming. So it's a bit of a Hanukkah song, not by might. Not by might, it's on page 669. It's a classic. Please join us. Not by might and not by power, but by Spirit alone. And we all live in peace. Not by might and not by power, but by Spirit alone. Shall we all live in peace? Children sing la 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 la. Children sing la. When the tears may fall, you can hear them go. And another song will run. Another song will run. Another song will run. Not by might and not by power, by Spirit alone, shall we all live in peace. Not by might, not by power. Shalom. We'll join in a motzi before making our way together to our oneg. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avo. Shabbat shalom, friends.